So Tulsi Gabbard, I believe, was the only member of Congress to vote present for both articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. She said in a video released about her decision to vote present for these impeachment articles that she couldn't in good conscience vote no because she does believe that Donald Trump is guilty of wrongdoing. She didn't specify what wrongdoing he thought he was guilty of, but she also couldn't support yes because she found it to be a partisan process, and so that's why she's staking out this position, this kind of no persons or woman's land position in the center. She also talked about the tribal animosities between the Republicans and the Democrats, and how that she did support the impeachment inquiry, at first, but then it kind of became this partisan process. But it's like, okay, what did you kind of expect to happen with the current makeup of Congress? But I digress. And then how she supports a censure resolution. I don't know if she's already introduced this, but it's something that she supports, and basically all that is a public formal reprimand of, in this case, of the president, and doesn't have any type of legal standing or consequence. So it's just a big kind of nothing burger, in my opinion. And that she wants us all to, both the Republican and Democratic parties, to reconcile so we can come together in the spirit of hope and healing. And it's like, oh, what, Tulsi, what are you talking about? And how, so if Donald Trump was guilty of wrongdoing, and in this case, with regards to the quid pro quo of holding up the aid to Ukraine in order to get dirt on his political opponent, Joe Biden and his family, if Tulsi thought he was guilty of that, even if she didn't support the whole partisan nature of it, then she should have voted yes. If she didn't think, Trump was guilty of, trying to leverage that aid for personal political gain, then vote no. If she didn't think that Trump tried to obstruct Congress, which I believe was the second article of impeachment, then vote no. If she thought that he was guilty of that, then vote yes. You can't, have it both ways. And as Howard Zinn used to say, you can't be neutral on a moving train. You got to, firmly place yourself somewhere. And, I would give credit to, Jeff Van Drew, the, Democrat, soon to be Republican, who voted no. He's a representative from New Jersey. He voted no on both articles, and I believe there was a congressperson from Maine who voted yes on one and then no on the other. At least, they had the kind of courage, as with still having a D by their name, to vote no because they didn't support it. Tulsi could have came out and did that, and I would have had a lot more respect from her. But, by voting present and trying to stake out this weird nebulous position of like, well, no, Trump is actually guilty of wrongdoing, but it's a partisan process, so I can't in good conscience support it. That makes no sense at all. If Trump was guilty of, one of these articles or both, in your opinion, then you need to vote yes, even if you deem it to be a partisan process. By impeaching a president, it's one of the checks that the legislative branch has on the president if they are guilty of these high crimes and misdemeanors. And it's pretty clear, if you're being, rational about it, that Trump definitely, was guilty of committing a crime by holding up that aid to Ukraine, by trying to get, some dirt from the Ukrainian government on Biden and his son that, they could use maybe during this election cycle. Now, granted, I definitely agree that the impeachment inquiry should have included a lot more issues, such as, Trump's violations of the Emoluments Clause, his running of these, concentration camps for for migrants, as well as, him aiding Saudi Arabia and their genocide against the people in Yemen. And, you could probably tack on, another 5 or 10 things or more to that if you wanted to, but I would say that those are some, pretty good places to start, along with him, misappropriating funds to support his, border wall and things like that. So yes, definitely the impeachment process, the inquiry should have included more articles of impeachment, but those are the ones that, the leadership brought, which, obviously is, questionable and problematic, but he is definitely for sure on the Ukraine part, guilty of that quid pro quo of trying to, leverage the aid that was already approved to Ukraine to, like I said, get that dirt on Joe Biden and his family. So in Tulsi's mind, what wrongdoing would warrant the impeachment of Donald Trump? Because, he's been guilty of a number of things that could have led to articles of impeachment, and these are just the ones that the spineless kind of Democrats decided to hitch their wagon to, because obviously he went after a member of the, ruling Democratic elite and their family, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. But, that's kind of a separate discussion. And, if Tulsi did have, the courage and backbone that was necessary to stick out a position on this, even if she, voted no on that, I would have had a much easier time, justifying that, because at least you're staking out where you stand. In this, you're like, oh, I just want to be on the center. I want to try to appease, my, right-wing supporters, but I also don't want to anger my Democratic base any more than I have to. And, honestly, it could be viewed as some type of political stunt by Tulsi and her campaign, because she's sitting at, I believe, like 2% in the Iowa polls and 1% nationally. Maybe she thinks this will get her into the news cycle, generate some more interest. Maybe those polls will climb up a little bit and, get her back more into, to a better standing in the polls. But stake out a position. If he's guilty of wrongdoing, then you should have voted yes. If you didn't think he was guilty of that, voted no. Like, that's as simple as it is. And I think AOC was right to kind of criticize Tulsi for not taking a position, either way. Like, vote yes if you believe he's guilty of it, vote no. It's like that simple. You can't stand in the center and like have this nothing burger position and expect people not to, push back on you. And yes, the articles of impeachment should have been much more expansive, but those are the ones that Congress had to vote on. And I doubt that, because the Democrats theoretically could go through this process again if they so choose, after obviously the Senate votes it down, because there's no way that the Republicans in the Senate, or a good chunk of them, would have to vote to support this along with the Democrats, and we know that's not going to happen. But in theory, the Democrats could introduce additional articles of impeachment in the future. I seriously doubt they will do that, but they could, and if they did, they should obviously include some of those things that I mentioned earlier. But those are just some of my thoughts on Tulsi, trying to have it both ways, saying that, Trump is guilty of wrongdoing, but she can't support this partisan process, so she can't vote yes or no. So I'm just going to have this nothing burger position, center in the middle, and I hope we can all reconcile and heal. And here's my censure proposal. So Donald Trump, you've done some bad things, and I don't support that, but here's a paper that's not going to hold you accountable in any way. And the impeachment process could have done that, but I don't support it because it was partisan. That was just a weird little, Tulsi doesn't sound like that, obviously, but I just changed my voice to, I don't know, do something different. So those are my thoughts. Disappointed in you, Tulsi. You should have stuck out or staked out a position either way, and I would have had a lot more respect for you if you had done so. Those are my thoughts. I would love to hear yours in the comment sections down below. Peace.